how to meet women in real life. Well, some of you guys have asked the question, where can I meet them? Well, anywhere, right? You can meet them on Grafton Street, Stevens Green, shopping centers, the gym. The context doesn't matter so much. Yeah, you have to tailor your communication to the context, but you have to really develop the ability of meeting women in real life, anywhere. You got to be able to walk up to them and start a conversation. Now, obviously, there's a degree of fear associated to that, right? The fear of approaching women. First of all, you have to understand it's completely normal. As long as you're alive, you will never get to a point where fear is completely gone. It may periodically be, right, throughout the day, right? Large chunks of time may be quite peaceful, but stress and fear is always going to occur. It's a part of being human. 300,000 years ago, most anthropologists and biologists agree that human beings were kind of shaped into our current form. That's when we kind of started being more or less the way we are right now, also from a neurological perspective. And back in the day, we were living in tribes of 50, 100, 200, 300 people, right? We always had people around us all the time. And we as men, or people in general, we depend on the tribe for our survival. We need other men to go hunt animals with, right? You need to go and hunt them, go for a run. Right? Now, obviously, like a friend of mine from the military actually told me that most animals that we killed as human beings, we didn't actually kill them with a spear. We just outran them. Right? You just ran 20 kilometers, and a lot of those animals die of a heart attack. Right? Quite an unnecessary, not that important side fact, but I found it quite fascinating. So you need other men. Right? You're not going to outrun a massive animal by yourself. You need other men for protection. What if you're at home with the women and then the tigers attack or other tribes attack? You need other men. You need women to be able to pass on your genes for the next generation. Because if you don't have anybody, well, it's going to look pretty fucking bad for your genetic legacy. So we need people. Therefore, whenever, or we realized through Darwin and evolution, that if we act too far outside of what's accepted, socially accepted within the norms of the tribe, we get kicked out of the tribe. We're being sent in isolation. Yeah. And if we're isolated from the tribe, then we're not going to survive. Right? So we need the tribe. And since we need the tribe, we all have built-in social pressure. Feeling social pressure in situations is not a weakness of character. It's not a sign that you're a little bitch. It makes you human. It means your brain works well. The only people who don't feel it are psychopaths or sociopaths. Anybody else feels social pressure. Now, that being said, so first of all, understand it's normal. But that being said, a lot of the times, for most people, the fear and the social pressure we experience is too much. Right? It takes us out of our own zone of competence, and we're not able to engage with women in a confident way. Because if we're sitting on the date, we can force ourselves to go on the date, and then we're sitting there all nervous. We're like, hey, how's it going? And we're nervous. We have these nervous twitches. We're not projecting our voice properly. Our body language is off. We're not reading her signals. If we're so overloaded with fear in our brain, we're not going to be able to perform at our best. So you got to learn to reduce that. There's many, many different ways. One of the techniques I've already shown you, power posing by Harvard. Now, you can meet women in a shopping mall, bars, nightclubs. There's different ways of meeting them. Direct, indirect, situational, right? Quick story. How did we meet? Well, I was in Bad Bob's, which is a nightclub here in Dublin, with Jonathan. First night we went out together, I think. First night we went out. And we walk through the dance floor, we're having a good time, vibing, and I look around, and I think I see a girl looking at me. I see her, and I think she's looking at me. I'm like, okay, cool. So I start moving people out of my way. I start making my way all the way to her. No, not aggressively, but just moving dudes out of my way. And I'm like, excuse me! 2 seconds. Well, it was loud, right? So I had to project my voice a little bit. I think I called her, I insulted you in Portuguese, right? Yes. So the Portuguese word for dog is cachorro. And I was like, ha, I'm smart. She's a female, I'm going to say cachorra, which means whore. So I walk up to her, her sister is next to her, and I'm like, whore. And her sister goes, nye, nye, nye. Nye, nye, nye. Immediately she attacks me. Luckily, Jonathan was there with me, and he was well able to take care of Vanessa, and they actually became friends, right? So I saw her. I thought she was looking at me. By the way, she wasn't actually looking at me. 6 months later, I found out she was actually looking at his fucking hair. How humiliating is that, to know that she could have ended up with him as opposed to me, right? I fall asleep every night questioning my existence. I'm like, no. But basically, I saw her, and I pretty much took the straightest route. Who here has ever seen a girl and done this thing? She's there in a nightclub, and you're not going to walk up to her because you don't have the balls and you don't know how to do it. So what do you do instead? You're kind of like, who here has ever done that? Come on, fucking admit it. Yeah. It's called being a bitch, right? I've done it too. When you see a girl, seek the fastest and straightest route to her. I know of people, a friend of mine has a friend, and that guy approached a girl on her wedding day as a comfort zone challenge. I don't recommend you do that, but if you got the balls of steel to approach a girl on her wedding day, not necessarily with the anticipation of success, but just to push your own boundaries, if you can do that, well, most likely you're going to be okay approaching her in fucking Tesco. Right? If you see girls, you can make that rule with yourself. Whenever you see a girl that's an 8 or a 9 out of 10, subjectively, from your own perspective, you will have to go. Because one thing that can happen, it's been for myself, and Jonathan, and other people here, when you develop the skill of starting conversations with women in real life, and you're ambitious as a man, there's a part in you that goes, I have to approach every single girl I see and I find attractive. Now, in the beginning, you should probably be doing that, but at some point, it just interferes with life. I'm like, actually, I have to go somewhere. It can't just all be about women. So it has to be balanced. But you can make that rule with yourself. Whenever you see a girl that's an 8 or a 9 out of 10, you have to go. It doesn't fucking matter whether she's with her mom. Then you simply say, excuse me, 2 seconds. You have a really pretty daughter, right? And then you calibrate it and you have a fun conversation. It doesn't matter whether she's shopping for gluten-free bread in Super Value, Bad Bob's, her wedding day. I wouldn't do that. Because I think the reason I wouldn't do that is, as much as I like to consider myself to be unbound from social norms, I also don't want to be an asshole to the guy. Because it's supposed to be his special day. He's supposed to experience positive emotions, and some ginger dickhead walking up to him and approaching his woman, well, I think that would mark the day in his memory. It would taint the memory slightly negative. You know, therefore I wouldn't necessarily do that. But make that rule with yourself. Make it happen. Open the conversation in a direct way. There's many, many, many different ways to do that. There's a lot of theory that goes into that, but really simple. If you want to know, you ask me in the break how to do it. You simply walk up to her and you're like, excuse me, 2 seconds. Hi. Yeah. Hi. I saw you. You're really pretty. So I just had to come and say hi. Hi. If it's like that, then I just go and cry in the corner, right? No, but like that's the kind of reaction you got to anticipate, right? When you speak to a girl on the street, you can't expect her to suck your dick straight away. That's a metaphor. That's a metaphor for her being interested in you. You know, it's not going to happen. You have to. Sometimes it's going to happen that girls look at you like, wow, it's so cool that you approached me. 1 out of 40 times. Sometimes it happens, and it makes you feel like a fucking pimp, and it's good. But that's not the aim of the game. You have to expect a bit of hesitation. Because after all, who are the kind of people that approach women in real life? We're talking about that today in the coaching call, right? Like the kind of people that approach women on the street are either religious people, homeless people, or salespeople. Usually not the kind of people you want to be speaking to when you're on your way from home to the supermarket to the gym. You know, like, no, thank you, you know? So you have to understand that women have legitimate safety concerns. Right? We as men don't have that. I've had arguments with some of my friends. I don't think a man, I don't want to say never, but almost never is a man in danger when he goes to a date. Right? If I'm in some fucking shady nightclub in some country that I don't know very well, I might not leave my drink alone. Right? I mightn't do that. But in general, I've never been afraid to go on a date. Never. What's going to happen? She's going to rape me? Not going to happen. Trade martial arts. Can handle her, you know? But the other way around, women definitely have that concern, right? So you have to understand, every time a woman puts herself out there, there is a security concern, right? You got to appreciate that. You got to see that, and you have to tailor your approach to that. Now, are there some women who are overly concerned? Yes. There are some women who are that anxious in their personality that it makes it quite difficult to be in a relationship with them. But you have to understand, when you go and speak to her on the street, you're a potential threat. So you got to tell her, I'm not that. There's many, many different ways of doing that. But you start the conversation and you expect hesitation. You might even expect a little bit, who are you? But that doesn't mean that you have to stop straight away. Now, if she tells you, please leave me alone, or if she walks away from you, you respect that. And you leave her the fuck alone. But just because she gives you this look, doesn't mean anything. Man, for me, I was so insecure around women. Years and years ago, I was in a nightclub in Berlin with a friend of mine. He was dancing with some chick, having a good time. Turns out at the end of the night she was a prostitute, but that's beside the point. He was having a good time, and I thought he was having a good time, so I felt like this while he was like this. Anyway, I saw this girl, one of many, many pretty girls, and it took me an hour and 2 gluten-free ginger beers to walk over to her and say hi. Now, this is in a nightclub in Germany, right? I'm German. I speak fucking Hitler, okay? I speak German. I could have just walked... Nobody laughs? It's okay. My mom never laughed at my jokes either. It's fine. Always saves it. So I walk over there to her and I speak to her in English. In English, I ask her, excuse me, where are the toilets? My vocal projection was off, my body language was shit, didn't know anything, didn't know how to navigate the dynamics. So all after I ask her that, a German girl in a German nightclub, being German, I get this. This look. Who here has ever gotten a look like that from a girl? Hurts like a bitch, doesn't it? Yeah, I got that look and it was like, I had a physiological reaction of shame. Blood rushed into my head. I was like, oh shit, everybody's looking at me. And I just walked away to the toilet and just chilled there for a few minutes. And it happens, right? It's really like, that's what it's like in the beginning if you don't know how to work with it. Now, that look in and of itself meant nothing. I had no understanding of the dynamics and nothing. So I didn't know how to deal with the situation, right? But that look means nothing. I could have just kept going, be fun, be persistent, be empathetic, and made something amazing happen. I walked up to her and her sister attacked me verbally. She's like, you fucking asshole, right? Now we get on great, right? I was lucky that I had Jonathan there, so sometimes it can pay off to have a wingman. Even though having a wingman, that's a subject in and of itself, you should never rely on a wingman, right? You got to be able to do that yourself. You can only ever have success with a wingman if you're able to go out by yourself. Because otherwise you're going to rely on him. And he's going to have to fucking carry you. And you're going to wait on him to do the fucking approaches. No, that's not how it's going to be. If you're out with somebody, always be the first one to take action. Lead. You fucking follower or you're a leader in your own life? You better be a fucking leader in your own life. Right? Don't rely on somebody else to make that happen for you. But yeah, you got to learn to calibrate that as well and be persistent and empathetic and fun. Now, who here has ever gotten friend-zoned? Yeah, me too. Right? Why do people get friend-zoned? Anybody an idea?
Try to be so good for the girl. I think the line between friend zone and a boyfriend is too short. It's just too light. And I think we try to be so good anyway we're in a friend zone.
You mean you overinvest, you're too nice?
Yes. Like I can help you, I can do it for you, I can be nice. Oh, you have problems, I can help you. Like I think that's the problem. You try to help too much.
Yeah, and isn't that interesting? A lot of guys, a lot of people, like probably not everybody, there's at least one asshole in here, statistically speaking, might be me, never know. But like most of you guys are really cool, right? You genuinely want to help girls, right? If you have a good relationship with a girl, you want to help. Right? And that's definitely one of the reasons, yeah. Now, the biggest reason you get friend-zoned is, well, there's 2 things that make up attraction, right? Or 2 things when it comes to meeting women. One is value, and the other one is comfort, okay? That would go real, real deep, just in high-level overview. The first thing you got to do is get her to be attracted to you, which is value, right? Doesn't mean you got to start flexing your Rolex or bragging about the shit you're good at, but you got to communicate in a way that gets her attracted to you, okay? And then the other thing is trust and comfort. Now, most guys lack either one or the other or both. Most men lack value. So she's not even interested. She doesn't see the value in him as a person because he doesn't communicate in that way, right? Now, if you lack value, but you have a lot of trust, she trusts you a lot, right? She thinks you're not a creep, you're a good person, but she's not attracted to you, you get friend-zoned. What if it's the other way around? And she doesn't trust you, she's like a little bit, you're a bit of a player or something, but she finds you really attractive. Well, then you're the fuckboy in her eyes. And then a beautiful relationship that might happen is not going to happen, right? So you got to learn to build both. You build value and you build comfort, right? But the first thing you do is you build value. And one of the ways in which that manifests is man-to-woman connection, right? You can have a friendly conversation with a woman, or you can have an intimate conversation, right? There's many, many different ways to do that, verbal as well as non-verbal. But first of all, you got to be okay with your own sexuality, right? Doesn't mean that you need to be too sexual too quick or send her weird text messages, you know? Send me pictures of your boobs, please, please. You know, not that weird shit. Or you are too weirdly sexual. No, none of that. But internally, you got to be okay with making things sexual. If you can't do that, she's always going to friend zone you. Now, there's another interesting component to that, and culture plays a role. Depending on the culture, some women need more value and some need more comfort. There's some cultures where you can behave pretty much just like a friend and they'll still fall in love with you. Other cultures, like in America, if you just behave like a friend, they're going to friend zone you. Now, that's like a general statement that never applies to everybody, right? There's individual differences. But in general, there's cultures where you have to have more emotional spikes. You got to be more intimate, as opposed to with other cultures, if you're too much of that, they're like, you're weird, you're acting strange. Can you not just be a normal person? Culture plays a bit of the role, but you also have to be able to identify the individual that's in front of you.